Yeah, talk to
Yeah.
any banker about Bitcoin and they get like hives and stuff.
Yes, they
They,
all
they
Yeah.
get
just
so
can't cope.
afraid so fast. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I had
Yeah, they're
a
all swimming in the soup of fiat currencies and they can't step out of the water there. And therefore anything outside that is a threat. There's actually, can I step sideways for a
Go for
second?
it. Of
Because there's a
course,
really
always do.
great and really important anthropological basis for this. Peter Diamandis just observed this when he wrote the book Abundance, and he noted that we all have in the back of our brains this little organ that's called an amygdala. It's the size of like a walnut, and it's an evolutionary mechanism that's scanning for danger on a nonstop basis. Okay? It actually goes in front of your neocortex, and it's the first. All the senses go through the amygdala before they get to the brain. Okay, and so because 10,000 years ago, when we were running around the plains of Africa, if you heard a noise in the bushes, you ran because bad news could kill you. Okay. Good news doesn't kill you. So if you missed a piece of good news, you might miss some fruit that you could eat. If you missed a piece of bad news, you died. So our brains are literally 10 times more likely to pay attention to bad news as opposed to good news because of that survival bias. This is why Fox News does really well. If you watch Fox News, you're going to die this week, right? If you're lucky, it'll last till next week, but you're going to die next week. But you're going to die. And Peter calls CNN the crisis news network, right? Because you watch every kidnapping or bank robbery on real-time, high-definition, streamed to 20 devices. You literally think the world is going to go to hell, and you vote on that, and you end up with Trump or Brexit or Bolsonaro or whatever. So this is the incredibly difficult anthropological basis. And this becomes doubly hard when we come up with new technologies, because when you see a new technology like autonomous cars, the first reaction is danger because
Yes.
our brain, and the first reaction is, oh my God, ban the car because the car might kill somebody, right? As my colleague Brad Templeton used to say, we don't want to be killed by robots. We'd much rather be killed by drunk people, which is what's
Yeah.
happening today. And so this is the kind of really difficult thing. Up to date, the only way of solving that we found is psychedelics. And so
Really
we have to figure out some basis around that.
fascinating. So I have another quote here from another one of your podcasts, which is a point that's tightly connected to this, and one that I really agree with is that you said human beings would rather be comfortable than happy.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that play out now with all of this, because this could be one of the best times ever to be alive, but fear is at a near all-time high, it seems.
Fear is at a near all-time high because people really resist the unknown, right? And the unknown represents danger. And so therefore they shy away from anything dangerous, even though it may be 10x better for them. Okay. And they have to overcome that. And there was an article that came out in Salon.com a few years ago. Okay. And the title of the article was "The Single Worst Discovery About the Brain Ever." That was the headline of the article. And it obviously kind of somewhat clickbait oriented. And what they did was they took people that had a deeply held religious or political belief, like abortion or a Republican or a Democrat or something, and then they gave them direct evidence that contradicted that belief structure. Okay, and they found three things happened. First was they rejected the evidence. Fine, understandable. The second was a little more weird. It turned out in rejecting the evidence, it reinforced your belief structure. It was like a physics reaction of you push it away and you become stronger. And they were like, well, that's weird. The third, which is what led to the title of the article, was it turned out the more mathematically literate you were, the more likely you were to reject the evidence because you thought you knew. Right. And that's depressing as hell, because that means you can never use an evidentiary basis to convince somebody of something. You have to use a narrative structure.